Alright, quick video here for the LS Lower Cradle Kit. This is a kit. These are all the pieces in the kit. Right here we have our front plate, secondary front plate for the pulley protector, two side plates for the motor. These are shims for the motor mounts. These go right there, two of them, one piece, left and right. Pulley protector, bottom, front pulley protector plate. This is bottom of the motor plate, oil pan plate, and 4 motor mounts that go on the outside of the left and right pieces there. Okay, we'll just start with the pulley protector. That's kind of the easiest part. So you'll need the secondary front plate. This one is a little bit shorter than the primary front plate. Make sure you don't get that mixed up. If you put this one on top of this one, you can see it's quite a bit shorter. Same outline and everything, just a little bit shorter right there. Grab this piece. This piece right here is the bottom of the pulley protector. And this is how I do it. I just lay it flat and I put the bent piece kind of on there like that. The idea here is to leave about 1/4 inch to 3/8. You want to have about a 1/4 inch to 3/8 gap here, or space here. You can kind of see on the edges where the bends are, they kind of just barely touch that corner there on the front plate. But you want to basically just leave enough room for a weld to get in there. So that's kind of how I have that. You don't want to be down there like that, then you're going to run into issues with this bolt hole. So kind of scoot it up tight to the front face of this. Just leave a tiny bit of gap there, and then make sure it's centered. Make sure this piece is kind of centered on that secondary front plate. What you can do to measure that is just measure on the ends. We got about 1.5 inches there. About 1.5 inches there. So just scoot this piece back and forth a little bit until it's even on both sides. Make sure there's that gap there, or that space there. This will be the front of the pulley protector. That'll kind of go on like that. Same thing, you want to leave a little bit of a gap on this back side to get a weld there. If you wanted to, you could kind of push it up. But you're not going to have much of a gap to weld, so I kind of just like to let it overhang about 3/8, 3/8 of an inch, so you can get a weld on there. And then just make sure it's straight. You don't want to make sure it's crooked. Just put it on there like that. Make sure it's even side to side. Weld that on there. So the next part, we're going to need the left and right pieces, the bottom piece, and the full front primary plate. And when we set this up, we're going to set it up as we're at the rear of the motor looking forward. So that's kind of how I have this laid out. If I was looking forward, the front of the motor would be this way and I would be standing behind it. So just lay your plates out like that, and the plate with the notch in it will be on the left side. The plate without the notch will be on the right side. You want to remember that you're at the back of the motor looking forward, and this plate will be on your left side. If you get those mixed up, if you do it so you're facing the front of the motor, this is going to be on the right side, and that's going to be wrong. So set everything up as you're standing from the back of the motor looking forward, make sure this plate with the notch is on the left side. So I have tabs, I have slots and tabs on each one. So those will drop right in where they need to on each side. The only thing that you're gonna have to do is make sure this is square. I can't do it while holding the camera here, but just put a square up there and make sure that this plate is square to this plate and that plate is square to this plate. It's kind of hanging in there. I'll see if I can get that other one to stand up. So this is what I meant by squaring it up. Just square this right here. Don't go off this edge. Right here, just make sure, put a square up there. Make sure these are square. Drop them into the slots and they'll be where they need to be. And just remember, you're at the back of the motor looking forward. The notch is on the left side. So this is kind of going to be the same as the pulley protector. I laid this flat and then I set this on top of the front primary plate. And it's kind of going to be the same thing. You're going to have about a 3/8 gap right here on the top edge of the primary plate. But the easiest way to set this up is flush the ends of this plate up with the edge of this plate. So you basically push this bottom plate up until this edge meets this edge on both sides. See how right now it's just basically flush with the bottom of this plate. Just make sure it's like that on both sides. You can also take a tape measure and measure to the edge on both sides, and then that'll make sure this is kind of spaced up evenly. But you should have a tiny bit of a gap there on the front plate, and the top bends of these side plates should be just about flush with the top here too as well. So yeah, big thing is make sure these are square right here, and then I recommend just tacking everything at first. Tack everything down in this position, and then you can kind of flip stuff up and weld as you need. So the next step are going to be the motor mounts. These are the motor mounts. These are gonna, Jesus. Alright, so these are the motor mounts here. Got four pieces, 2 for each side. So to lay these out, this is not super critical. Measure down from this 3 inches. Same on both sides. Measure down from this face right here, not this one right here. Measure down 3 inches. And then your motor mounts will go right there. And the edge right here of this plate should sit right where the bend is in this plate. Kind of like that. There's going to be a little bit of play back and forth, but that's fine. Just line up this edge here in the middle of that bend right there. Measure down 3 inches. I'll measure down 3 inches and then tack this one in place. And there's going to be a 4-inch gap between this one and the next one. So once you get this one tacked on there, measure 4 inches between them, and then that's where this other one will go. And you'll do the same thing, just line this edge up in the middle of that bend there with a 4-inch gap in between them. And it's the same on both sides. Down 3 inches, 4-inch gap between them. That'll be that for the motor mounts. I did forget gusset plates, so I'll grab those. So these are some small gussets for the motor mounts. These gussets go on the outside mount, so it'll be this top one here. I'll see if I can do this one-handed. It'll kind of be like that. There'll be one there, and then there'll be one kind of right there. This is where you'll put those gussets on the outside one. Same on the other side of the top one. You'll put the gussets there. There'll be 4 of those, 2 for each side. And then, yeah, these are shim plates, so these will go directly to the motor. And you'll kind of just bolt everything through. And then these are slotted, so you kind of have some adjustment back and forth. But you'll just run your bolts through there and then adjust as needed and then tighten down. I think that's everything. If you got any questions, feel free to shoot me a message.